Damn, Nikon really said, we're tired of paying RED for the internal compressed RAW patent. We might as well just buy RED, huh? Yo, Kyle Lowe here, and Nikon buying RED was not on my 2024 camera bingo card, but dang, that's pretty crazy. So it's March 7th, it's like 4 a.m. because I fell asleep early and then I woke up in the middle of the night and I looked at my phone and saw this news and I just had to sit down and say something. But Nikon has acquired RED. RED is becoming a subsidiary of Nikon, and this is nuts. Funny thing is, I was just on Corey Mayo's podcast, and I can't remember if it was after the podcast or during the podcast. We were talking about the Nikon cameras, the Z9 and Z8 are pretty formidable cameras that can shoot 8K at 60 frames per second like my R5C, but the benefit of them is you don't have to run external power to get that internal raw 8K 60. Whereas the R5C, I need to plug in USB PD or a dummy battery with enough voltage to run the lens autofocus at the same time. Nikon figured out a way to do it, and they're paying RED for the internal compressed RAW patent. So there's more options in terms of compression for that raw image, whereas the Canon only gives me Canon RAW Light LT. And this really just leads to more questions than it does answers. This is just a quick press statement. They pushed this out in Tokyo time. It came out 11 p.m. Pacific time. And my head is just filled with questions. What does this mean for DJI's paying for the patent for internal compressed RAW? They're paying RED for the patent to be able to do Apple's ProRes RAW in the Inspire and maybe the Ronin 40. I'm not really up on their cameras right now. And what does this mean for RED? Will the next generation of RED cameras have a Nikon Z mount instead of a Canon RF mount? This may be weird coming from me because I'm primarily known as a Canon camera owner. Most of the digital cameras I've ever owned have been Canon. I've said to many friends, I'm not a big fan of RED. Now, before you start blowing up my comment section with RED fanboy things, I guess I should state, it's just been my perception of RED. I've never owned a RED camera. I have plenty of friends who do. I think that they make beautiful images. I think the RED R3D file format is some of the best data compression and raw formats ever. But I've just never been a fan ever since some of those reports in 2014 when the DSMC2 bodies were being launched about their treatment of their engineers and workers, real crunch time, real poor mental health, not good management on their end, people leaving, people having mental health crises while working at RED. And then there's also the Genitech videos about RED using off-the-shelf parts, claiming that they're proprietary, the legitimacy of their internal compressed RAW patent, and their handling of lawsuits. Plus, I just don't really care for the way they package their things, like the weapon and these really skull and crossbones kind of things. I just want to be a wholesome, silly dude. I don't want to have a big, scary camera that gives off the wrong impression of the personality I'm trying to be. I'm a big fan of dual internal recording, and RED, historically really just uses a single card slot, whether it was their proprietary RED mags or now using CF Express Type B. There's really just one. You could do some external recording for redundant backup, but you're not getting those R3D files from it. And I remember reading a horror story from one of Joseph Kahn's features, and his DIT accidentally erased the card instead of backing it up and lost $10,000 worth of half a day shot on that card. And I don't know if this has been fixed with the Komodo and the V-Raptor DSMC3 interface, but man, the eject button and the format card button in the RED DSMC2 interface, very similar. They give you very similar warning, are you sure you want to do this? Format your card or eject it. And I freak out anytime I was on a set running a RED camera. I was like, wait, did I hit eject or did I hit format? And I really just meant to eject, just scared all the time. So, but mostly because of what happened on that Joseph Kahn set. The interfaces for those two buttons are so similar. But that said, I've also been a really big Nikon camera fan. I've owned multiple Nikon film cameras. This is kind of really where I got started. I got my first Nikkormat EL back in high school from my dad. It was his camera, and then it got stolen, and I had to find another one on eBay. The Nikon F3 is legendary. I need to get this one cleaned. If anyone knows of a good shop that will refurbish a Nikon F3, this one's kind of gunked up. It needs to be cleaned out. It needs the works. Please let me know. And I've really wanted to try out a Nikon Z8. I was telling Corey, I really want to check one out, rent one and a couple of lenses and compare it to the R5C. But what do you think? Is this going to make Nikon a better company? Is this going to make RED cameras ultimately change their DNA and the way that they do things? Is this going to be a net positive for the cinema industry? Is this going to be better for Nikon? Or is Nikon going to take cameras like the successors to the Z8, Z9, Z6, Z7 and kind of move all their video features over because now they've got a cinema department? I do think RED is going to benefit from Nikon's long legacy and larger infrastructure. Hopefully this means less crunch time for RED engineering crews and bigger rollouts of cameras so people aren't waiting for 6 months for a newly announced camera. They can just have the inventory right when it's ready to go. Or is Nikon getting too big and going to be bloated and held back by this new arm of cinema cameras that's now under their wing? Really interested to hear what you think. Please leave a comment down below. But this news shook me. I woke up and had to come and record a video. It totally threw off my calendar of things I wanted to talk about this month. I have the Parrot Pro teleprompter from Kickstarter that I want to unbox and check out. I have the Belkin iPhone auto tripod thing that's gonna make camera operation maybe better, maybe worse, I don't know. And I've totally messed that up because I had to come and sit down and talk about Nikon acquiring RED. It's still crazy. It's nuts. Anyway, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to see more, like the unboxing of these 2 new products, hit subscribe and leave a comment. I really want to know what you think. I might be bugging some of my friends who are RED owners and operators and get their thoughts on this. And I will see you next time. Peace.